secret location in the city that moves mountains.
Greetings.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I am all out of bubblegum.
Good morning.
Good morning, Goose. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm waiting on your better half.
Well,
Grand Rising.
there it is. And we have our special guest, Mr. Seth of Seth's Daily Podcast. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. How are you guys doing?
If I was any better, I'd have to go home.
So, how's your guys' week been? Dirty Dan, I'll start with you because I know that you had an adventurous week this week.
Adventurous, to say the least. Some
Doesn't
downs,
even cover it.
some ups, some downs. You know what? It's a new week, baby. It's a new week. That's all I got to worry about.
And I'm glad you have your car back.
Yeah. The adjuster will be out this week at some point to assess the damage of the poor little titty. Probably not going to fare too well.
Do you even want to mention that on the show?
Oh yeah, my shit straight got stolen out of my driveway last Monday morning. And then the power of social media, my post went viral on 2 different platforms. And hey, you know what? Though they might have destroyed my car, at least I know someone had fun because someone reported seeing it and they were doing 90 to 95 and my car dusted them. So,
well, hey,
you know what? At least I know someone had some fun with it like I do.
Yes.
Yes. It is what it is.
Yes. Episode 49. Thank you very much, Seth, for joining us. Like Dirty Dan said, glad to have you here.
Yes, sir.
And thank you guys for having me for sure.
And we are also live on Twitch this morning. Rebecca, what is the Twitch ID again?
It's at Honest Rebecca Thoughts.
So you can always tune in every Sunday morning and catch us live on Twitch and then listen at 4 o'clock on all major platforms where you can hear quality podcast where the episode will drop. Going to have a good show today. We have a really great interview coming up in segment 2 with Chris Sloan from the Mountain Mysteries podcast. Chris is our first guest, and we're going to have guests all month long this month telling ghost stories, and Chris is our first one. So I'm looking forward to getting to that. We've got a lot of email. We have somebody that keeps saying, email me 13 pages, I'll read it. We actually, what is it, like three pages?
It's like 2 3/4.
Okay. So
Semantics.
I'm not sure if that whole entire email will make it in the episode or if it will be edited out, but we'll just have to wait and see.
It'll all make it.
You sound pretty confident there.
Well, Goose, are you really going to starve the listeners of an email after they finally sent one in like that?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. Rebecca, I'll let you start off this week. I understand you have an email, and I have not saw this one yet.
No. We are saving that one.
Oh, okay. So you want to save that one? Do you want to save that one for last?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and start out then, and mine is like 4 paragraphs, the first one. It's from the listener Numb. He says, does anyone else do this, or is it just me? I listen to music every night in bed. Nostalgia music and other music. My mind is so noisy at night, it's like it's on crack. I can't sleep for hours sometimes. I deal with anxiety on a daily basis. Sometimes I do great. Other days I feel like an ass. 2 days ago, I felt really bad. I felt dead inside. The worst in a long time. Feels like I have so many things to do and take care of while having so little time. Always racing against me to barely survive the day. It sucks real hard. I found that music helps a lot. When I listen to music, it's one of the rare times that my brain shuts up. All I hear is the music and no more bullshit. Useless Thoughts. I also found out a few years ago that composing music also made me feel good. I'm no creative genius and I don't know how much music, but man, it feels good to compose something. Listen to it and say it works. Maybe one day I'll compose with you and Dirty Dan Roswell. And I swear that email is not from me. That could basically describe me sometimes when I'm trying to go to sleep. And I used to listen to classical music and all kinds of music.
Buddy, I think it describes pretty much anyone out there at one time or another in their life. And being a classically trained trumpet player growing up, and then being ruined, quote unquote, by finding jazz when I went to college. Everybody knows I listen to all sorts of different music, and it really does help when you're able to just sit there and relax and close your eyes and just fall into that music. Nothing else matters.
So you played
focus on that.
So you played the trumpet. Did you go to band camp?
I went to several band camps.
Really?
You don't want to see what they do with flutes there.
Okay.
One thing that I do want to say, like, I struggle with the same thing. Like, silence is not my friend. I constantly have to have noise or music, and something that has helped me significantly is looking up like the healing tones. There's different tones and frequencies for different parts of your body and different chakras. And the other thing that's really helped me is the binaural beats.
I've actually listened to some of those too, because you can get some of those with meditation. You can get some of those from YouTube with music or thunder or rain sound effects.
Well, Goose, didn't you have the story about the someone that makes the binaural beats?
Yes.
And
yes,
they had someone quit smoking from it.
Yes, I do. And you actually know that guy too, Seth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he doesn't live around here anymore. He lives, I think, in South Carolina, but his last name's Huff.
Oh, really?
Yes. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Seth? Do you ever have problems falling asleep?
No, man, definitely not. I used to, man, but I would always listen to like 532 hertz, like the frequency of like XXX Tentacion was actually the one that put me on that, man. RIP X, man. He definitely was a big inspiration to me. He definitely woke me up with knowledge and stuff about like what foods not to eat and how much water you should drink and all that stuff. And he definitely woke me up about the 532 hertz as well.
Hey, he was ahead of his time for sure.
Yes, he was. And I'm going to try to eat better this week. I've ate garbage pretty much all week. It's just been one of those weeks at the cookie factory where I would just drive through. So, and I don't like that. That's just exhausting my energy this week.
Oscar, you're a grouch. Bitch, you live in a fucking trash can. Sorry, Dave Chappelle's last week. I know. I digress.
Rebecca, you want to go ahead and go next with the ones that we emailed you?
This one is from Jeremy. Hello, Goose and Dirty Dan. Last year, people panic bought toilet paper. What is something that you panic buy that isn't your typical item? I'll listen for your answer.
Dirty Dan, you want to go first with that?
I refuse to panic buy anything.
Okay. Well, but like, what is something? Oh, okay. What is something that you're well stocked up on that you have to have?
Horse dewormer.
There you go.
Ivermectin. No. Sweet tea.
Sweet tea. I think it's in a zombie apocalypse type situation, this would be useless, but it's going to be light bulbs for me.
Oh, I got LED light bulbs everywhere, and I didn't even try to hoard them. It started out by me dropping a brand new pack.
Uh-huh.
So right above the fridge and the cabinets, there's like this little there's two different cabinets there, like the little pantry kind of cabinet, and then we have some like glassware dishes and stuff up there.
Right.
And in between the end of that and the wall apparently is a 4-inch wide space, 8 foot down. And I put the light bulbs up there so that I could keep changing them. And I had no idea. And I put them up there and all I hear is thunk, thunk, crash. And I hear all these brand new LED light bulbs break. I'm like, son of a bitch.
What about you, Seth? What's something you're well stocked up on?
Mountain Dew for sure.
Mountain Dew. So you
Yeah,
Marvel's
man.
geek.
Gotta have Mountain Dew, man, and also soap as well for sure.
Yeah. You know, I mean, yeah. For me, you know, and like I said, I know that would be useless in a zombie apocalypse, but you know, light bulbs. So
Mountain Dew gives you energy though.
well, that's true.
You gotta start stocking up on potatoes then, Goose.
I need to stock up on treadmills because if we had a zombie apocalypse, I could just put them outside my house facing backwards. And when the zombies came, they would be walking on a treadmill.
That would be kind of amusing to watch them just take the step and swing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Dirty Dan, I'll let you take the next email.
All right. We have Tara writing in. When will Luke Fugate be back on the show? I follow him on YouTube. His experiments are amazing. Keep the ear candy coming, guys. Say hello to Ned, Elliott, and Rebecca, too. Roswell. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Tara.
Thank you very much, Tara, for that email. Luke will be back in the next few weeks. We're actually working out details to try to get him in the studio or pre-record or record an interview with him. But he will be back. He's an avid listener. He actually let us use some of his footage last week, and we'll probably have some more of that up in the future. So, but Luke is, you know, Justin describes Luke as like the mad scientist type guy.
I definitely agree with that.
Oh, I'll go ahead and go with the next one here. Aaron says, greetings, Goose and Dirty Dan. First, I want to start by saying thank you for the free quality entertainment that the podcast, radio show, and YouTube videos provide me and so many others. The show is great. Second, I'm glad to see that the Midweek Moment is back for season 2. Great job to Dan with the first episode. Finally, I'd like to request a show where you talk about nothing but Antarctica. Antarctica is a strange and fascinating place. I think it may hold many, many secrets. I think that one day we may know what they are. Roswell. Yes, Rebecca, go ahead.
Can I please be on a part 2 Antarctica episode? Because I know that was one of the first episodes that I was on with you when you first found me.
Yes, you can. And we'll probably try to do that sometime in December. We'll have an Antarctica episode.
After our Office episode, of course.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And, we're actually going to do the Office episode the first Sunday in November. So, right. But we'll definitely schedule Antarctica for some time in December. And this individual that wrote in, I just want to throw out, this is not the one.
That's what I just texted Rebecca.
Yeah. This is a different one that has wrote in many, many times. This one's actually from Kentucky. So
I can tell just by the way it's written.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I once I started reading it, I wanted to throw that out there. Seth, what do you think about Antarctica?
Man, I don't know much about Antarctica. I just know that's where scientists like stay at every now and then and stuff and study like penguins and all that stuff, man. But
he's so innocent.
It's adorable. We love that for you.
There is a lot more than that going on there, my friend.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, Seth.
You and I can have a conversation about Antarctica sometime.
So, Seth, if you ever have free time on your hands, and I suggest this to all the listeners too, to prepare yourselves for this Antarctica episode, get up the Google images and then go back in time on the map and you'll see structures changing. You'll see giant voids or holes open up out of nowhere. And there's also the front half of a Kilo class Russian sub I found on there, just laying on the ice.
It's also posted in my Telegram somewhere. I can dig through it and find it and like repost it again, but it is posted in Telegram at one point.
And one of the Here to Chew Bubblegum episodes from early June would be the one Rebecca first came on with that.
Yeah. You need to join the Telegram, Seth, if you've not done that.
Absolutely, and everybody else should as well.
There you go.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless.
Thank you.
Rebecca's got the next email from one of our favorite listeners.
Dixon09.
Dick.
Hey, Goose and Dirty Dad. It's your favorite Dixon09 here. Did you give, I can't say this word. Did you
Specific.
give a specific? It's specific, okay?
Okay.
Why do you give me these? Did you give a certain date when Elliot's articles will be back on the show? Thanks for taking time to read my email. Roswell.
They will be on, the entire Spooky family will be on the show in a studio, I think October 24th. I think that's when they'll be in. Elliot's articles will be back soon. We do have, in this episode and all the radio shows, we're going to be doing like for all month long, a Kentucky spooky story that will last anywhere from 2 minutes to 40 seconds. And Elliot did give us a voiceover introduction for that. So if you're a fan of Elliot, just hang around and you'll be hearing that soon. We now move on to the book, a.k.a. the big email.
Not that big.
Yeah, right. Okay. No,
I mean, it's really not that much bigger than the one that a certain someone sent me last week.
yeah. Now, this guy, too, has wrote in before. It's been quite a while that he's wrote in. But
he's just making up for the other weeks he didn't get to write it.
Okay.
Look at it more positively, Goose.
Dirty Dan, take it away.
All right. Well, longtime listener and writer in, Lando, says, "Hey guys, I found this on the internet and I decided to copy and paste it here. The Native Americans supposedly originated from China. When China was going through another period of booming, they somehow lost contact with their Chinese colonies and they degenerated. They developed a system of astral projection that they used to be with the spirits and reunite with their ancestors. They asked repeatedly for modern systems or modern technology, but after several thousand years of being in contact with those spirits, they never came. The Byzantines were given many important technologies over thousands of years that they migrated and progressed. They had the Ark of the Covenant, Lord Jesus Christ, Constantine, Charlemagne, Da Vinci, Arthur, Robin Hood, Victoria, Tesla, and others. I find that bizarre because when the British invaded America, they had industries. The Americans had no concept of industry at the time. They were still in teepee huts. The North Native Americans had 13 countries and the contingent United States. The British eventually formed 50 states under a federated government. The natives were not considered people, and they had farming, housing, clothing, trade, reading, writing, military, and espionage systems, but no industries. They were dragged out of their lands and enslaved. And when they could not survive slavery, they were dragged onto reservations. The Europeans were able to spread smallpox under the guise of humanitarian relief because they knew about optics and germ theory. The current Byzantine territory is now a Muslim nation. The Muslims only care about killing non-Muslims, denigrating? I think he meant degenerating women, and world domination. It would seem to me that whenever the Native Americans prayed for something, it appears that in Byzantine. It looks like a weird mix-up of communication that has to be recognized. All of the modern technologies appeared in Byzantine and Europe, and nothing appeared in America. Did the Americans at one point evolve beyond the need for industry, then forget about or destroy the technology? Rather than spiritually being the norm in Europe, like it was in the Americas, when I can't say this word. I struggled with Rebecca the other day.
Spirituality.
Thank you. Being the norm in Europe, like it was was taught to them the way that technology was taught in Europe. European countries had a dedicated priesthood rather than specialists like the medicine man. Rather than monks constantly having to spread the word and the knowledge, the medicine man's authority was unquestionable. Native Americans were supposed to believe that the medicine man was right because it was revealed by the spirits. And if anything went wrong, it was the spirits doing. Monks had to ask other monks to gain an understanding of what they were saying. Monks had to be trained to be monks, and then they lived in abbeys. The medicine man, because it was more spiritual, and he roamed about alone. Rather than having the power of the spirit and the authority of being right on their side as a determinant of who wins conflicts in America, the Europeans had to have some device given to the Europeans or the Arabians which had the power in it. I just want to take a pause right there real quick. And the medicine man was actually one thing I learned about in school.
Mm-hmm.
And reference back to the history teacher that went out and what did I miss?
Nothing, man, nothing.
I don't believe y'all for a second because Rebecca has a shit-eating grin and you're over there laughing.
No, I'm just listening to the email.
We're listening.
You two are terrible liars, and specifically you are going to pay for it. Anyway.
You just have to watch the playback.
Oh, God. Well, I do. The other one that you're in cahoots with refuses to listen to any of our stuff. So.
I'm here for it. Why do I have to watch it back?
That is the most egotistical thing I've ever heard.
No, it's not. I listen enough to make up for her. So
you and I both.
Thanks, Goose.
You're very welcome. So did you lose what chapter you were? I mean, what line you were in there?
No, sir.
Okay.
I've had my finger on it.
Okay.
Thank God.
And Lando, we really appreciate you writing in.
Well, to be fair, he did say he copy and pasted this.
Yeah. You know, and you can also check out the Here to Chew Bubblegum Facebook page, and you can share stuff on there as well.
Oh, you know?
I'm just saying.
Goose, we've been saying all this stuff to share and get contact with us for how long? And if that just came up, I feel like a dumbass. And the TikTok.
Yeah. Well, you know, TikTok could only be 3 minutes max. I think this email would probably be a lot longer than that. So,
but besides that point, there were obelisks that were in place or foundations where they were missing found in the Americas and many other relics that were no longer functioning. I'm going to turn my attention and watch you guys while I read this. We also still have the Ark of the Covenant, but it also does not work. The Ark of the Covenant was a complex device that actually had to be operated and carried and understood in order to work. When it worked, the electricity was loud and visible and deadly. The obelisk works passively as long as it's installed and makes no sound or heat or other visible phenomenon. Why was the Ark of the Covenant project not replicated in the Americas if it worked in Arabia? If a person gets sick in America, they go to the medicine man. But if they want a second opinion, they went to another medicine man. They had no concept of doing medicine any other way. In Europe, however, scientific medicines were slowly replacing Christian medicine. The constitution of the environment could have also been a factor. Much of America was a wet marshland where food was relatively abundant. In a wet, soft carbon earth. More on carbon capture shield coming up in a few episodes as well. Much of Arabia is a dry, sandy, hard silicon earth. It contained many other heavy metals that would be filtered out of the carbon environment because the living things cannot process these materials. The silicon sand is a heavier, more complex material that, along with other heavy metals, are used in modern computer systems. The hard sand is more responsive to sound and better refracts light. It could also be true that the people there above and below are more sensitive to the sound signals present in that area. Also, in the drier lands, it makes it harder to survive, and people have to make risky decisions more. Thus, their descendants inherit the sensitivity trait. They will not only hear, but will also be driven to do things that they hear much faster. But as they live outside of the desert, they lose the sensitivity and become more confused by the wet, dampened dirt and water. This is more obvious in a most recent engagement where an army of people who had equipment and experience became confused and lost to people who did not make as much sense, but were willing to do the things to achieve their objectives so much that death was not an object for them. I wonder if there is a theory out there like that somewhere. Please help if you can, even by spreading the word. So that email
is
Rebecca,
over.
Touches on some of the stuff JC was saying last night.
Yes.
But I
people were actually clapping. Did you hear that when you got done reading it?
I heard. I guess you'll have to watch the playback of my facial expression at you.
Lambdo, thank you very much for the email. Could you read that one part again where it was talking about the silicone sand is heavier? I'm totally joking. Please don't.
So
No. I'm going to go on with the next one. It's from Steve. He says, "Hello, Goose, Dirty Dan, and the rest of the Here to Chew Bubblegum gang. I was recently watching a PBS documentary and wanted to relay the following quote. The quote is, we are made of stars stuff. We are away from the cosmos to know itself." End of quote. A word of wisdom from Carl Sagan. That is what it said, and I just wanted to share it with you. Thank you very much, Roswell. Thank you very much, Steve. Rebecca, Seth, you guys got any thoughts on that quote? Seth, how about you?
Oh no, man.
I've not researched Carl Sagan much, and for some
I don't even
reason,
know who that is.
well, I know who he is or what he's done, but I've not. I don't really have an opinion on him, I guess. So, Rebecca,
I want to say so we are made of star stuff. We are away from the cosmos to know itself. And I think what it's trying to say without looking it up or, having any other context to it, basically like we are of the universe and the universe is within all of us and connecting everything together creates source. That's my take on it.
I like the way you described it a lot better. Let's see, Dirty Dan, do you want to take the next email?
yes, sir. We got Misdemeanor Mike writing in.
And I think this is the first time he's ever wrote in. So thank you very much.
Hopefully Misdemeanor Mike writes back in for the office and Misdemeanor Mike can meet Prison Mike.
Oh, and he may get to meet Date Mike.
Oh, Date Mike. Ooh. Hi, I'm Date Mike. Anyway, hello, Goose and Dan. I've got a shortwave radio and have been monitoring the 2M band. I'm picking up a strange communication that appears every 3 days between 145 megahertz to the 176 megahertz. In the Derbyshire area again, it's a single voice that gives a garbled call sign followed by a more legible message that's a mix of the phonic alphabet and polarly lasting for about 3 minutes, broadcasting at 11:04 and 11:16 every 3 days. I have partially decoded the message and believe it's a message to other time travelers of the location of a stranded time knot. If anyone else listens to the show and has a shortwave radio, please write in and let me know if you have experienced this as well. Roswell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meaner Mike. To all of our time travelers or shortwave radio guys, please. Yeah. You can tune in to 145 megahertz to 176 megahertz every 3 days at 11:04.
Derbyshire area.
Yes. I've not really. I don't have a shortwave radio. I've not really messed around with that a whole lot. Seth, what about you?
I mean, some people actually use it for like a ghost box and stuff. Like you scan stations and just keep on going. I did the same thing. Like just kept on going. Like it just goes from every radio station. And actually, it could have been a spirit, honestly.
I was just going to say, because the Derbyshire's in the UK. It's England. And especially right now, right now there was a lot of loss 70 some years ago in a world war there.
Yes.
So It very well could be a spirit stuck.
You could be right.
We call it the ghost box.
The ghost. Okay. Now I have heard of that. The ghost box.
Yeah. You can get it at like Radio Shack and you like go through different frequencies and stuff and it just goes through like different like AM or FM and you can switch it. On FM, you can hear voices way clearer than AM for sure.
Rebecca, you want to take the next email?
This is from Dave. Hey, Goose and Dirty Dan. I'm loving the show lately. I've noticed that you've been putting a lot of YouTube content, which I'm enjoying as well. I'm looking forward to October with the ghost stories and included in the show. Also, happy early anniversary.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, we have been dropping a lot of YouTube content, and we will keep on going. And thank you very much for saying early happy anniversary. So,
Goose, why don't you take this last email? This is, I think this is a bigger thank you to you.
Oh, okay. It's from Jay. It says, hello, everyone. I'm a new listener, and I just wanted to drop a few lines and say thank you for carrying on the legacy of Art Bell Roswell. Thank you very much, Jay. Thank you very much. Now we have one more email left, and I'm going to listen to this, and hopefully it's a good email. So.
Oh, it's good.
Seth, hold on to your pants here, boy. You're going to be in for a treat.
Well, hopefully, Seth, you have pants on while we're recording this.
Well, I mean, he's in an island paradise, so if he's smart, he's got a banana daiquiri and no pants on there.
Okay, I'm just gonna interrupt all that's going on here. This was an email that was privately sent to my email, and it is titled "Gone but Not Forgotten," and it is from Bolin Cox.
Oh, okay.
Dear Rebecca, first, I'd like you to know that little Billy Stephen Donnie Ray wants me to tell you that you're his #1 fan. He spends many nights and days out in the shed praying hard that one day he'll get to meet you in person. I've personally never seen someone invoke the Lord in someone like you have in little Billy. Most days he prays so long and hard it's difficult to get him to stack the hay and do the other chores he's supposed to get done. It's been a weird week out here on the trail. After Dirty Dan read my intimate email last week on the show in his mangelic way, Sally Jean Sue persuaded me to take a plunge and take pictures and a video of my condition. It was a huge mistake. After she had flashed all the pictures and recorded the extensive videos, I went to send the case file to Here to Chew Bubblegum, but something horrible happened. Instead, I sent the picture and the video to my Uncle Herb. Uncle Herb was an older gentleman and unfortunately didn't listen to your podcast. Sadly, Uncle Herb was found on the floor, phone in hand, and one eye popped out of his socket. Seeing my condition was a fatal shock to Uncle Herb. The family is placing no blame on anyone. Uncle Herb lived a long life out here on the trail, and Sally Jean Sue and I have decided not to send the pictures and videos to Here to Chew Bubblegum because we don't want to risk any further pain and possible damages. We both love you all so much. Sally Jean Sue also wanted me to inform everyone that little Bobby Ray Stevenson Dave will not be doing any kind of porno. We just can't chance it, and we'll keep earning our money honestly. I hope this didn't bring down the aura of the show. Out here on the trail, we don't have much to look forward to, and Here to Chew Bubblegum is our only entertainment we get the entire week. You guys continue to stun the world with your content. The best thing to ever happen to the show is when it gained honest thoughts. Moving forward, it's getting close to Halloween, and here's a 2-part question to you, Rebecca, Dirty Dan, and the Barbecue Man and Goose. I'm sorry, here's the 2-part question to you, Rebecca, Dirty Dan, the Barbecue Man, Goose, and whoever else may be in the bunker this week. Growing up, what, if anything, was something unexplained that happened to you during the season of the witch? What was your favorite costume you dressed up as during all the years of celebrating All Saints Eve? Roswell, Bolin Cox. P.S. My favorite costume was when I was 10 years old. That year I'll never forget when Ma and Pa was able to splurge and buy me the official costume of Victor Willis. It was so magical. Like Victor always says, we're all stars.
Thank you very much, Bolin Cox. Dirty Dan, do you want to go first with his questions?
Well, at first, I'd just like to say that after that intriguing email, I was very pleasantly surprised and even more intrigued with the thought that went into those 2 questions with the correct names.
Yes.
So now I want to know even more. Second, I hope Marsha Sue Jane is still liking the tube steak. And now I can answer
Sally
that.
Jean Sue.
Marsha Sue Jane is the one who I converted from girls back to tube steak, Rebecca.
Oh, okay. So my apologies.
Sally Jean Sue is his wife who helped his friend get milked back to life after he got kicked by the horse.
Listen, I need a fucking flow chart for all of these people. Okay. You know how this works.
It's the trail. All right. So
I think maybe if we look hard enough, we could find Bolin Cox on the map.
You know, I'm starting to wonder about that.
and Rebecca turned around to look at the map. So,
I am starting to wonder about that.
Go ahead, Dirty Dan. The question was, what was one of the first your favorite costume, and one of the first spooky things?
So I'm gonna answer the second one first, because I was always one thing as a Halloween kid, and that was a fireman. And my mom has told Rebecca that recently. I always wore a fireman costume, and then I became one. So, but the spooky thing that happened to me, it was actually with some of my fellow band campers, and we had gone trick or treating, if you will, i.e. just searching out candy. And we were all sitting there, and Kurt was his first name, had a, God bless, a Geo Metro. I don't know if you're familiar with that little 3-cylinder car.
Yes.
I'm sorry, a Prism, not a Metro, not the SUV, the Prism, Geo Prism. We were sitting there, and the four of us were all just laughing, having a good time, talking about something that actually happened with a band event. And this non-power lock, non-power window car, stick shift, literally lights turned on, door popped open, and it rolled. Scared the hell out of us. Don't know anything else that happened from that or with that. Don't know how it happened. And that is, honest to God, the only spooky encounter I can honestly say I have that's unexplainable.
For me, my favorite probably Halloween costume was dressing up as a cowboy. And I'm talking about with the authentic gun belt and everything, like a real one.
And just assless chaps on, nothing else.
No, I actually had, jeans on and chaps. Yes, Rebecca, go ahead.
All chaps are assless. I don't know why we have to distinguish assless chaps. There are no chaps that have an ass.
Ooh, she got you, buddy. She got you.
Not really. I just said them by the title, and I guess I misspoke anyway with you, and they should have been chaps full of ass for you.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're saying that I don't have an ass first,
no,
that means you're looking at my ass. But the cowboy thing was probably my favorite costume, and I didn't really have anything spooky happen until I got older. I have saw stuff before, that was there, and then I would turn back and it wouldn't be there. And that's about it. What about you, Seth? What was your favorite Halloween costume when you were little?
Oh, man, definitely dressing up as John Cena. I was a big John Cena fan, man.
There you go. What about anything spooky that you had happen to you? Like the first thing?
Man. That could be 1,000 things, but definitely one that comes to mind is at the Opera House Theater in Cynthiana, Kentucky, and we went on a paranormal investigation there, man, and a ghost actually touched me on the shoulder, and on the ghost box we asked, "Did you just touch him?" And we got a clear answer saying, "Yeah."
That's cool.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
What about you, Rebecca? What was your favorite Halloween costume when you were little?
Oh, I think my favorite Halloween costume when I was little, not high school or anything like that. I went as a genie. I was very excited about the genie costume. And I remember my mom trying to get me to wear a coat. You remember, because before they started fucking with the weather hardcore, it used to be cold in Halloween in upstate New York.
Yes.
So I was very pissed off that I had to wear a coat over my costume, because that defeats the whole purpose. And I think one of the I've had a lot of freaky things happen, but the one that I was thinking about what I wanted to tell, I was driving on back country roads one time. I was driving from my house to my boyfriend's house at the time, and I saw this, there was trailer parks on one side of the road, and then if you cross the road, it went into this cornfield, and it was just nothing. There was just nothing. And I saw something step out of the cornfield, stare at me like as I was driving, like my headlights were on and everything. I saw it. And then I drove past it and it was like looking at me and then it disappeared into the fucking corn. And it was not human.
Wow. That's a lot freakier than what mine was.
This isn't a competition.
No, right. But I'm just saying. I want to thank everyone for writing in with their emails. You can always call, text, or leave a voicemail by calling 606. Listen to this number, Dirty Dan, 606-373-3396. That's 606-373-3396. Or they can email us. How can they do that, Dirty Dan?
It's 606-373-3396. I got it. You can email us at goose@heretechewbubblegum.com, dirtydan@heretechewbubblegum.com, and rebecca@heretechewbubblegum.com. You can also email the rest of the gang, Ned or Elliot, at heretechewbubblegum@yahoo.com.
We're going to take a break and come back with segment one. In segment one, we'll have some UFO news. Dirty Dan will have a spooky story to share with us. And we'll also talk about Demi Lovato in her latest interview. And we'll mention the Space Force. What are we listening to, Dirty Dan?
You are
Here's
listening.
Thank you, Rebecca. We'll be right back.
Take a lighter look into the darker side of the world. Join Elliot, Gertie, and Beagle as they jump into the dark abyss of hauntings, fables, UFOs, and beyond. The Spooky Family Podcast. You can find them where you listen to quality podcasts.
Welcome back to Here at You Bubblegum with Goose, Dirty Dan, and Rebecca, and me, the special guest, Seth from Seth's Daily Podcast.
Very good job, Seth.
I love it.
Thank you very much for bringing us back.
I love that. Should I plug myself as a special guest?
Well, yeah, man. Like, Seth, you're part of the Here to Chew Bubblegum family. You can plug yourself anytime you want to.
You got segments now, bud.
So, yeah, and we're going to be talking about your segment coming up in segment 3 of this show, so you can tell everybody about that as well.
Absolutely, man. Definitely having a lot of fun doing that segment, me and Earl are.
Good. I'm going to start out with some UFO news and to follow up on a story that I read, I think, last week on the podcast show. Lockheed executive refuses to comment on video exposing a mystery aviation technology on secret testing base. The general manager of Lockheed's most secretive arm, known as Skunk Works, refused to comment Tuesday on a mysterious aviation technology spotted recently at Lockheed testing facility in the Mojave Desert outside of Palmdale, California. A video began making rounds on Twitter September 22nd, exposing an oddly shaped, sleek aircraft being loaded onto a flatbed truck. The video was reposted by Ruben Hoffs, an aviation enthusiast who says he stumbled across it on TikTok. But the main guy, general manager of Lockheed's Skunk Works, refused to comment on that. Have you saw a picture of that, Dirty Dan?
I have.
Okay. What's your thoughts on it? I think it looks like a more advanced stealth bomber.
So they've been in the works of making a stealth bomber or a more advanced flying wing kind of deal. And it was accidentally announced about, I want to say 4 or 5 months ago, and then suddenly redacted that it was heading for air trials. So I think that's exactly what it is. Either that, or they've got a new series of black money stealth drones that one of them got caught. Because you can't really tell if there's a manned cabin or not on it.
Right.
So I'm sure we'll find out in 25 years later, 25 years from now what it is.
Oh, yeah. UFO sightings are on the rise nationwide. There has been a spike in UFO sightings across the nation with the most recent release of U.S. intelligent UFO reports. There are just more people looking up in the sky, or is it something else? 2020 produced 7,200 UFO reports, an increase of over 1,000 from 2019. The U.S. government and military confirmed investigations and sightings of UFOs, bringing the phenomenon back into the mainstream media. A Florida resident recently caught 2 orbs on his home security camera. The video shows lights moving rapidly across the flame. Further examination of the video to see if it was logical, if there was a logical explanation, such as drones, satellites, or birds, was inconclusive. Without a definitive answer, it does raise the question, are we alone? Seth, I ask you that question. Are we alone?
Definitely not, man. I definitely believe in UFOs, and I believe the spike in seeing UFOs is because people wasn't able to go like to bars or anything, and they had to stay home, and people went outside and did grilling and stuff like that.
And they've gotten curious.
Dirty Dan probably seen one out there too while he was barbecuing.
I have seen several things in the air at night that I've questioned, but at the end I don't hold any value in the question because I do, not that I believe, but I firmly know we're not alone.
Rebecca, are we alone?
No. The other thing, was it on Ancient Aliens that I was watching? I don't know. I was like falling asleep, so I don't know if
yesterday
I was getting like bits and pieces, or if it was something else that I was researching. I don't know. Somewhere along the line, it happened that the UFO sightings spike and increase in times of panic and war times.
That was on Ancient Aliens yesterday.
It was on Ancient Aliens. Yeah. Okay, I couldn't remember where I did it, and I like got to thinking about it. I'm like, holy shit! Like they're not wrong in that statement. And also, I mean, as we become more aware, as we expand our minds and open our pineal gland, and we see things that we couldn't see before.
Well, and not just that, you got to think though, with the times of war and whatnot, especially now in these modern days versus 30, 40, even longer years ago, no matter what political party side you're on, no matter what your views are, if you have any sort of news watching or reading capabilities, you see that everyone is arming themselves with large missiles to the gills across the world. So you're always going to want to look up and be curious about that and go, what if? And with so many more people doing that and being they're catching it. Yeah. So I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that it hasn't grown by 200%. It only went up 1,000 total sightings from last year.
Well, just what they're releasing.
Right. Yes. Good point. And I don't think we're alone either. Dirty Dan.
Wait, Goose.
Yes.
Are we alone?
No, we're not.
Somebody had to ask you.
Dirty Dan, go on with your spooky story for us. Get on with your bad self.
Oh, get on with your bad self. All right. So this story was published the end of July this year. And it's titled "A Ghostly Testimony Leads to a Murder Conviction, a centuries-old mystery of the Portsmouth Valley Inn." In the quiet town of Portsmouth, Rhode Island, lies an old home. Known today as the Valley Inn Restaurant, it sits on the original footprint of a site where a mysterious death took place. It isn't so much the age of the inn that draws the people to it, or the mysterious death that happened. It isn't even the knowledge of a man once convicted of murder that once lived there. What draws people to this old historic structure is the fantastic story of a ghost testimony that led to the conviction and execution of a man. In 1673, Rebecca Briggs Cornell was found in her room. Her son, Thomas Cornell Jr., lived with her and found her lying dead on the floor. It appeared that she had fallen and hit her head. The fall landed the upper part of her body in the fireplace. She was burned from the shoulders up. What seemed to be an unfortunate accident quickly turned into a murder investigation. A visit from beyond the grave. A few days later, Rebecca's brother, John Briggs, who also lived in Portsmouth, awoke in the middle of the night. He claimed that the apparition of his dead sister stood in his room. The frightening visit from his sister prompted Mr. Briggs to go to the authorities and demanded an investigation into the murder of Rebecca. With it being the time of the witch trials, people were understandably in a frenzy over the story that John Briggs had told. His nephew, Thomas, the only plausible suspect during that time, was arrested and put on trial. And remarkably, he was actually convicted solely on the extraordinary testimony of his dead mother. Thomas Briggs Jr. was then hanged a short time later. He was buried on the property in an unmarked grave. And for 356 years, it has been believed that John Briggs saw his dead sister, who told him her son was her killer. That is, until a paranormal investigation team recently went in and uncovered the details about the case and the family that went unnoticed for over 3 centuries. Family controversy leads to ulterior motive. Upon the paranormal investigation conducted by the Kindred Spirits crew from the Travel Channel, it was discovered that John Briggs was an important figure in the community. Anything that he said would have been believed. It was also discovered that there might have been some bad blood between Rebecca and her son, leading John and others within the community to think that he had a motive to commit the murder and take his mother's life. However, when studying the original court transcripts, the shocking revelation of John Briggs' true statement was discovered. In his testimony, he never actually stated his sister named her killer. The documents only state that he had seen Rebecca in his room, where she said, "Look at how I am burned." Secrets and betrayal. During the investigation of the inn, the crew believed they were communicating with the spirits of Thomas Cornell Jr. and John Briggs. In a surprising twist of events, it seems the spirit of Thomas outed his uncle by confirming that he was put to death by hearsay. Gossip in the time of deep spiritualism and fear of the devil drove the townspeople mad with a desire for revenge for a crime that most likely never took place. During the same investigation, the spirit of John Briggs came angry when he was told the truth would come out. Everyone would finally know that he wrongfully aided and allowed his nephew to be hanged for a murder that never happened. From the amount of evidence captured, it seems fair to conclude that John Briggs caught wind of the tension between his sister and nephew, possibly lending credibility to a motive that Thomas wanted to get rid of Rebecca. Perhaps the spirit of Rebecca did visit John, but that fact remains he never once stated she actually named her killer or even that she was murdered. So what drove John Briggs to allow the execution of his sister's son? Could he have been afraid of backlash from the community after the rumors had already begun to spread? After all, it was not acceptable during that time to go against the status quo. Was he afraid of being implicated himself if he came to his nephew's defense? Or was there indeed a belief hidden within all the speculations that Thomas did commit murder? We may never know for sure, but the truth remains, Thomas Cornell Jr. was convicted and executed on nothing more than circumstantial evidence backed by the incredible otherworldly witnesses. Visit a 300-year-old crime scene. There aren't many places in the U.S. where you can visit a suspected crime scene over 3 centuries old. However, the Valley Inn in Rhode Island is a historical destination not to be missed. Although the original home of the Cornells burned down in the mid-1800s, it was rebuilt by the Cornell family using the original blueprints of the first home, and it sits on the same exact foundation. In 1892, 200 years after Rebecca Cornell's death, the house was reconstructed and to replicate the original. Today, you can see the property and dine in the restaurant. The Cornell family cemetery is there as well, situated not far from the main house. And Thomas Cornell Jr.'s grave is believed to have been located recently using ground-penetrating radar. The property owner has said that not too many paranormal events happen, stating that periodically strange things do absolutely occur, though. The spirits that reside at the location seem to be pretty tame and keep to themselves. It's evident that the captivating story linked to the home draws many people to dine at the inn. The atmosphere alone transports people into another time. The stone walls and old wooden beams are original to the 19th century rebuild. It's truly a destination that should be experienced. And the striking resemblance to the Amityville house, with its arched upper floor windows, are sure to attract anyone's attention and intrigue. It's no wonder it's on many paranormal enthusiasts' bucket lists. After learning about it, it's definitely at the top of mind.
And that's the Valley Inn, correct?
The Portsmouth Valley Inn.
Okay. There may have been a segment on Unsolved Mysteries years ago about that. I think it showed like the bar and the restaurant where a chair came sliding over, and it actually showed an apparition, if that's the same place.
I do believe so, because I believe it stemmed from the Amityville house, which is also mentioned in there.
Okay. If you had a chance to go visit this place or the Amityville house, and this question's for all of you, would you do it?
Seth?
Absolutely, man. I mean, I visited probably more haunted places than it. Like in Bardstown, Kentucky at the Jailer's Inn. That's a really haunted place, literally an old jail. I mean, there's crazy stuff that happens there, man. So I'll definitely visit it for sure. I'll probably have investigated more haunted places than it.
Have you ever been to the old Kentucky State Pen?
No, sorry, man.
Or what about the Waverly Hills Sanatorium?
I wish. That's definitely on the bucket list.
What about you, Rebecca? If you could go to this inn or the Amityville house, would you do it, and why?
So old Rebecca would have jumped at that opportunity in a heartbeat, and definitely the Amityville house, because I've watched that movie several times. I used to be obsessed with fucking horror movies. Now, knowing what I know, no. We are not fucking with that energy. We are not disturbing anything.
Well, I mean, but if you go, and I'm not talking about going and ghost hunting, just if you had a chance to go walk through it, you wouldn't do it.
Because some of that architecture is actually really beautiful, like the Waverly Hospital.
I think I would do it. And I will tell you a good place to go visit is it's in Ohio. I can't remember the name of it. You can look it up, but it was the prison that they used for I can't think of the Stephen King movie.
Is that where Ghost Adventures went?
The Green Mile was in Ohio.
No, it's not the Green Mile. It's the other one with Andy Dufresne. Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Shawshank Redemption. Me and my son did go to that one about probably 4 years ago now. That was a really cool place to visit. I mean, because you just had total run of the place.
Yeah, well, I stopped there briefly. We didn't get to go in, but we did stop there. At one of my old jobs, we were going up to the Mack trailer plant in Ohio for me to inspect a couple trailers for a company, and I was like, "Oh my God, isn't that from the Shawshank Redemption?" And we just pulled off and we went in, walked around the outside for a minute. But yeah, I would love to go back.
Yeah, no, I mean, we spent probably about 4 hours there. I mean, just because there were still some movie props left. The room that they used for the Brooks was here. That was actually on site. They had that there. And then they actually had some pictures in one section up where people had done ghost hunting. And it was just unbelievable. It was really cool.
Have any of you heard of Penhurst Asylum?
I have heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Okay, so I used to live about 20 minutes away from Penhurst. And I found out about Penhurst. This is the only legitimate spooky place I have ever been to. Penhurst Asylum was a botched mental or insane asylum or mental hospital that they tortured the ever-living snot out of everyone that went through there, including about half the workers over time. And there was a lot of underground tunnels, similar to the Waverly Institute with the Death Tunnel. But Penhurst tunnels literally go out for miles because they had workers going to and from that because it was supposed to be a secret location. And I mean, this place literally is hidden off the beaten path. And they would go in and out these tunnels to and from work to have goods come in, go out. Like everything was done. No one ever showed up to the front door. And it was spooky for two different reasons. One of which the National Guard was doing a training exercise there, and I and a couple friends had gone in the one tunnel, and we peeked out, and we found out they were doing that exercise there. But the first time I was there, I swear we got chased by something for about a mile and a half through the one tunnel back out to Towpath Park. It was just a loud. Rebecca, you remember Charlotte's just ear piercing screams when she was like 2-3 months old on the table? It sounded like that. It was just toe curling, ear piercing scream out of nowhere. There was nothing in the lights, nowhere. If anyone has the chance to go to Pennhurst, they have opened it up as a tourist attraction again, since like 2013 or 14, I believe. They do have haunted houses there. It's 6 main buildings on the property. I highly recommend going there if you get the chance. There are paranormal teams there all the time.
That's pretty cool. Rebecca, going to you for a second. You said you used to really be into horror movies. All right. The month of October, what is one horror movie that you would recommend a listener of our show to watch, and why?
Ooh, can I give you my top 3?
Yes, please, by all means.
Rose Red by Stephen King. It's like one of my favorite.
That's a good one.
It's one of my favorite. It's long, but oh god, it's good. Skeleton Key. That shit will fuck you up.
I don't think I've even heard of that one.
Me either.
It's with Kate Hudson, and it's about the like New Orleans voodoo, like old New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good like that one I might even watch again.
Can we watch it then? Because I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Yeah, we can watch it. I think it's on Hulu or it's on Peacock. I can't remember. I know I've seen it. And then my third,
The Ring.
no, fuck The Ring. Is it the Covenant? Is it the Conjuring?
Yeah, The Conjuring.
The Conjuring.
Seth, what's your top 3?
Man, to be honest with you, watching scary movies, it just makes me laugh. I never really have been scared of any of them.
Well,
yeah, man. As a ghost hunter, man, I guess I've seen more scary stuff in real life than on what the movie portrays.
What about you, Dirty Dan? What's your top 3?
I mean, we talked about that.
Yeah, on the radio show.
Yeah, or I guess we're gonna talk about that on the radio show.
Yeah.
I'm with Seth. I'm that asshole that you get really pissed at, that's sitting in the back of a movie theater, absolutely rolling around laughing, losing his mind because it doesn't scare me. Okay,
well, I will give you my top 3. Number 3, Freddy versus Jason, just because, I mean, and yeah, it wasn't a scary movie, but it was hyped up, and those were like 2 of my favorites. And to finally see them face off, plus that movie had a great soundtrack. That's number 3. Number 2 on my list is the original 1978 version of Halloween. And number 1 will be Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, the original.
The one that comes to mind is The Exorcist.
Now, I have never watched all of that all the way, and I'll tell you why, okay? Like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. All of those are so ridiculous, they can't happen. But
right.
When you get into the real shit, like The Exorcist and The Conjuring, I tend to stay away from those movies.
Well, and like being baptized and brought up as a Roman Catholic, it was scary for a whole different reason besides a scary movie.
Right. I've never got into those, and I have never saw The Exorcist all the way through. Never. So, and I've never saw The Omen, any of those.
Oh, really?
Never. Now, I do like Rosemary's Baby. Now, that is a good horror movie, scary. Have you ever saw that, Rebecca? Did you like it?
What's the scary movie with the motel?
Which one? Are you talking about Psycho?
Oh, please narrow it down.
The word motel is in the title.
Motel Hell.
Yeah.
That one has a huge cult following.
Yeah. That one is also scary for a whole different reason, and it's because of that cult following.
The Shining.
The Shining's a good movie.
Yes, it is.
The Shining. Interesting. The Shining's on the map.
Really? Mm-hmm. What does it say about The Shining on the map?
It's above the moon because actually they briefly talked about it on a podcast that you did when I listened to when you were interviewing about Stanley Kubrick.
Yes,
and
okay.
his rendition, his recording of The Shining, there's certain things that were changed from the original text by Stephen King to hint towards the moon landing being fake.
Yes. We did, but I had no idea The Shining was on the map.
Mm-hmm. The Shining and Stanley Kubrick are above the moon on there.
I knew Stanley Kubrick was. Yeah. Jinx.
I didn't realize The Shining was on there.
Moving on, Demi Lovato's on a hunt for UFOs and says they saw things they can't explain. Demi
Lovato, the singer.
Yes.
Is this her new California sober thing?
No. This is she had done this last year with Dr. Stephen Greer, but I think she's doing it her by herself now. And I think this show was
Before
actually
or after the overdose.
After.
Yeah, the overdose was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Time does not exist. Okay, I don't know.
Demi Lovato is searching for out-of-this-world encounters on a new Peacock show investigating UFO phenomenon. The pop star, actor, and activist has gone off the usual path in search for a close encounter of the third kind in a 4-part Peacock docuseries titled Unidentified with Demi Lovato, in which they investigate the UFO phenomenon. Basically, we went out with equipment and meditated and tried to make contact. And you'll have to watch the show, Lovato told an interviewer that aired Thursday on the Today Show. This show is available to stream Thursday, involves interviewing alien abductees, poring over government reports, and going to UFO hotspots where eyewitnesses have reported strange activity in the sky. Lovato, 29, is joined by her sister Dallas Lovato and good friend Matthew Scott on their journey. When I say make contact, I don't mean like touching fingers with an ET, Lovato said. What I mean was making contact is just by putting the intention out there into the universe, and you will see something from another world. Now, what Dr. Stephen Greer had her doing last year, they were going out in the desert, him and her and a bunch of more people, and they were meditating, and they were using high beam lasers. And one of Stephen Greer's documentaries is really good. I can't remember which one was really good. The other one bored me to sleep, the one that came out after. But they were using high beam lasers, and you can actually see when their stuff does attract and come to those. But the whole meditating and calling them there, I'm not convinced that works. What do you guys think about that?
What's the show called again?
It's on Peacock, and it's called something with Demi, Unidentified with Demi Lovato.
Because I pulled Peacock up on my phone, and I'm going to look it up.
Now, I wonder why you guys have the Peacock app. I know exactly why you have the Peacock app, so you can watch The Office.
Yeah, because Netflix sucks, and as soon as they took The Office off of Netflix, you bet I canceled that shit. Nope, I don't play those fucking games.
And then I downloaded Peacock, and we got it, and then it had commercials. And the moment I saw it had commercials, it said, fuck that, and bought the premium subscription.
Does it? Okay. How much is the premium subscription?
It's severely cheaper than Netflix. I think like the premium one, like there's two different subscriptions.
$6.
Yeah, it was $7.99 and the other one was $3.99 a month.
Dude, I have bought so much. I've got Hulu, I've got AMC Plus, I've got Stars, and this is all within the past 3 weeks of me getting
You
stuff.
want to know what I think we should start doing?
What's that?
We should just have some master accounts and just have people make different accounts off, share the password and the fucking login and put the companies out of business.
That's a good idea, but
right?
on some of them, you can only log in 5 different people, I think.
That's fine.
Well, that was Netflix's old rendition.
5 less monthly payments they're getting.
Oh yeah. And I still have YouTube Red for some reason. I don't know why.
I love YouTube Red.
And I think the reason I still have it is because you can play YouTube videos and actually close your screen out, and they still keep playing.
So,
and there's no commercials.
Long in a time long ago in a land far away, when the YouTube app first came out, that was free of charge to do.
Yeah,
it was like that for like 2.5 years, and then when the iPhone 4s came out, they took that off. That was no longer a feature.
Changed it around.
Yep.
Let's see.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Tommy bastards.
Moving on here with a Space Force story. Space Force moves ahead with a mission. Space Force is the newest military branch in the United States military and is preparing to launch its next mission. It plans on adding more satellites to Earth orbits to detect and track missiles that can often fly under the radar. Space Force leadership says the cost to launch this warfighting technology is decreasing, but the competition to use is growing rapidly across the world. Dr. Derek Turner says the Space Force is a year away from doing just that with dozens of military satellites. The only way we're going to be able to do this is because the affordability of satellites have gone way down. Because of partnerships with the growing commercial space industry, Turner says the cost of a single satellite can be as low as $14 million instead of billions of dollars.
Thank you, Elon Musk at SpaceX, my boy.
Yes. Turner also says that the cost to launch satellites into orbit will also drop from hundreds of millions to tens of millions. That is the Space Force goal for 2024 and beyond. It's to keep pace with countries like China and Russia, who also have an interest in space defense. And that is some of the latest science and tech news, Demi Lovato, all that good stuff.
Did her music scare the aliens away?
Probably. You know, I could not name a Demi Lovato song if I had to. I can't.
She did one with Fall Out Boy, and it's only because I'm a Fall Out Boy fan. That's the only reason I know that.
What was the name of it?
I have no fucking idea. I just remember the music video, like, and it is a super, super, like, eye-opening music video because they're all like puppets in a toy store, and she's like going around and picking them up and manipulating them, like knowing everything and being where I'm at now and knowing the music video, like.
Now, is she actually? Go ahead, Rebecca. Is she?
No, say it.
I said it's funny that you guys are talking about this because in chat on Twitch we're talking about all of like the movies and like shows like Family Guy and American Dad with like truth bombs, and like you're just looking for shit now when you watch stuff like being aware of everything. You're like, holy shit, they've known the whole time.
Well, I have long said that Seth MacFarlane is way ahead of his time in this universe because that man just somehow alludes to everything years and years before it ever comes to fruition.
Oh, like the one where they had James Woods on there and he went to the Hollywood hospital and they fucking sucked a teenage girl's life out of her and pumped it into James Woods' dead body. Like, okay. And that came out in 2012, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, Dirty Dan, talking about that video real quick. And Seth, if you're familiar with the video, you may know the answer to this. When you say she's controlling them as puppets, are they string puppets or does she have her hand up their butt controlling them?
It's not.
So it would be
butt.
a puppet versus a marionette.
Oh, okay. Okay. So she actually has her hand up their butt controlling them then?
No.
Okay. So they're married.
I don't listen to Demi.
Dirty
Dan Irresistible. That's the name of it.
Okay. Never heard of it. Let's see. We're going to take a commercial break. We're going to have a Ned Said, and when we come back, we're going straight into segment 2 with our first guest ghost story with Chris Sloan of the Mountain Mysteries podcast. We'll be back at segment 3 to close things out. You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. We'll be back in a few minutes.
It's now time for Ned Said on Here to Chew Bubblegum.
152 people in the United States is named LOL.
Hello everyone, this is Elliot Spooky, and it's time for another Guest Ghost Story as we celebrate Halloween all month long on Here to Chew Bubblegum.
Happy October and welcome to the first Guest Ghost Story. With me in the studio today is Chris Sloan. While his name may not sound familiar, I'm sure his voice will for those of you living in the Bunker Studio area. Chris is the host of the Mountain Mysteries. Chris, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Goose. I was born and raised in Paintsville, Kentucky. Live in Prestonsburg now. Host the Mountain Mysteries. I spent over 20 years in broadcasting, most of that at WQHY-FM 95.5. A lot of listeners are familiar with that in the area. It's a Class C 100,000-watt station, and we flame throw from the top of Stonecrest Mountain to parts of Virginia, Tennessee, and I'm still affiliated with them through the podcast. The owner of that station, Gorman Collins Jr., is a good friend of mine. And radio has always come to me as it's almost like breathing. It's just the first time I got behind a microphone, I realized, hey, maybe I do have a voice for this, and I got a face for it, that's certain. But it's something I've always enjoyed.
How old were you when you started in radio?
Oh, well, probably about 23, 24, something like that.
For those that aren't familiar with the Mountain Mysteries podcast, tell us a little bit about that.
The Mountain Mysteries podcast, Apple Podcast, which bled over to Spotify and just about anywhere podcasts are found now. Apple Podcast coined it as where true crime meets the paranormal. And I thought to myself, well, that is pretty cool. And that's actually what happens because we deal in a variety of topics. Most of them have to do with people. That's what the Mountain Mysteries is about, are the people that we don't know what happened to or how what happened. Maybe they're dead. Maybe they're murdered. Maybe, they're missing. So we cover a lot of that. And it all started because of a friend of mine that I went to high school with, that in 1991 lost her life. And at first they ruled it as an accidental drowning. Well, upon the autopsy, they could find no water in her lungs. And it still stayed an accidental drowning. They closed the case. And right after the Mountain Mysteries debuted on March 5th of 2021, the Kentucky State Police reopens the case.
Good.
And the case is currently considered active and being investigated.
Good. How did you get the idea for the Mountain Mysteries?
I was driving home from work one day, and, unlike anybody else, we think about the people that we lost over time. And sometimes it's something as simple as a song that brings them to your mind. And I was thinking about April and wondering, well, I wonder what's going on with that case. April wasn't the only friend I lost that night. She was there with another friend named Timothy Stambo, who had a deathly fear of water, and was found in Paintsville Lake at about 20 feet of it, submerged, drowned. He did drown. But when I got out of the car, I got on my iPhone, walking inside, and I Googled April Pennington. And all I could find was, the Find a Grave Memorial.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
That's all I found on her. And everybody in Paintsville, Prestonsburg, Pikeville, most of eastern Kentucky knows, or at least suspects, that was no accident. That was downright murder. And as far as Tim Stambo goes, if you had seen him in the funeral home with his knuckles, almost no skin on him, where he fought for his life, pump knots on his head, that was no accident either. So all I could find was that. And I'd made a phone call to Sharon Grass Barron. That was April's mom. Now, she and I had not really had any dealings with each other, but I had a lot of respect for her because I could only imagine the hell that woman went through. And I said, this is Chris Sloan. And she said, I know your voice. Used to listen to you on the radio. I said, well, thank you. I was thinking about your daughter. And she got real quiet. And I said, for 2 years, my daughter's been on to me to do a podcast. I'd done over 40 audiobooks on Audible and Amazon and voiceover commercials and TV spots and stuff like that. And as soon as I said, I'm thinking about doing this, yes, do it. I couldn't even finish it. And I said, would you be willing to do an interview with me, to sit down and talk with me? She said, yes, I will send you my address or I will meet you at your place, whatever you need. And I said, okay. So initially, we went to her home. which is in central Kentucky. That drive was well worth it because I'm telling you, April's spirit is all over that place. And now she seems to hang out with my daughter. I can get into that as a part of our story later. But and I will tell you why I think that is. And it's something that will clench your heart. It's a beautiful thing, not a spooky thing. But that's how the Mountain Mysteries came to be. And initially, Goose, I really thought, I'll do 2 or 3 episodes and do updates if warranted. That depends upon the state police or any new information that's developed or released. Well, this thing took a life of its own on. Next thing I know, we're doing one on Mamie Thurman of 22 Mine Road, Logan, West Virginia. Then we do the UFO Paintsfield train collision. I think that happened around 2000, 2001?
2001 or 2.
Okay, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, it was the early 2000s.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, we'll have a few snickers and giggles and go on with it. That thing skyrocketed. I looked at the numbers on it, and I looked at where the numbers were coming from. Right now, we are in 28 countries or 27 countries, something like that, around the world. I've got people listening in places where I didn't think anybody spoke English. Greece, Turkey, Romania, of course, where they do, the UK, London, right. Ireland, England, etc., and all this. And I had no idea until my son-in-law sat down one day and he said, "Do you know how much this thing's getting out?" And I said, "I figure a few people around here listen to it." He said, "A few." Okay. And he turned his laptop around. He said, "This is according to Zencast." And at the time, that's what we used before we switched to Anchor. And I said, "You've got to be kidding me." He said, "Numbers don't lie." He said, "This thing is growing. It's getting big." He said, "What are you going to do, Mr. 4 or 5 episodes?" And I said, "Well," and I talked to Sharon about it. And Sharon, as odd as this is going to sound, Sharon does have gifts. I believe that. I've seen it. She said, "April wants you to do them." So now if you'll notice on the episode notes of every one we put out, it says, "Dedicated to the enduring memory of April Pennington." And sometimes I'll put on there, "I love you, miss you," because she was a friend.
Right.
We went to high school together. She would come up in the hall. This happened once. And if you could think of Snow White, that's what April looked like. She was beautiful. Had a very light complexion, coal black hair, and she had those ruby red lips when she wore that lipstick. I mean, she was just a beautiful girl. She was literally a teenage beauty queen. She had won competitions for the Apple Festival. She was so pretty. And she'd come up and she'd lay her head on my shoulder, and she was as country as cornbread and buttermilk. She didn't care to say it. She loved being from the country, and she never called me Chris. It was Crease. She said, "Crease, I don't want to be here." And I said, "Well, sis," and I put my arm around her. I said, "None of us do. Let's just get through it and do it and go home." I said, "We're in school. We got to be here. Otherwise, Mom and Dad's going to jail." That's probably not a good thing, at least on my part, and probably not on yours either. And she shook her head. She said, "Oh, no." But that was shortly before I found out that that they had found her. At the time, they said, well, she was in this part of the lake floating face down in the water. Well, she was in a completely different part of the lake, come to find out. And then through our research, we found a witness that was actually there that night that helped recover her. He looked at Sharon and says, "Sharon, she was never in the water. Her feet were. She was laying on the rocks, face up. I helped carry her to the truck." Why would somebody change a story like that? I'm not a cop, but I know bullcrap when I see it. And I can smell it a mile away like anybody else. And I'm sitting there thinking, am I a conspiracy theorist? No. I like to say I am an open-minded skeptic. Just because somebody says something doesn't make it true. But what if? And then the further we got into this, the more we learned, the more I dug, the more the rabbit hole let me dig. And the next thing you know, we're putting together people. Apparently there was a guy at a place where all this started that night that had kind of a thing for young girls. April was 16 when she died. She'd been 16 for 5 days. And this guy was in his mid-20s and wanted to have his way. And, of course, she said, "Oh, hell no, that ain't working." And one theory that we were told about, and I call it a theory because they said they were there. I'm not so sure, though, because they keep changing stories. They said that another girl walked up and suffocated her with a bag, hoping to put her out for a few minutes while he did what he wanted to do, and it went too far.
Have you ever thought about the possibility of the person changing the story? Sometimes people do that because they're the ones that actually did it.
Yes. It's called deflection.
Yes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I was thinking that when this person was talking to us. And I even told Sharon after they had left, I said, you know, my daddy taught me growing up that if it barks like a dog and walks like a dog, it's a dog. I said, and that person is barking really loud. Because, I mean, she had changed her story in the midst of 15 minutes. And, you know, I'm always looking for that first lie. Lie to me that one time. That means you're changing something. Because if I sit here and I tell you, hey, Goose, I drive a black car. I'm 50 years old. 10 minutes later, you say, well, so what color is your car? Oh, it's black. Remember? I told you that a few minutes ago. You don't have to lie. You don't have to make up evidence for the truth. The truth will stand. But when you start doing that, then you got to tell another one to cover it up and another one. And that seemed to me like what this person was doing. And I thought to myself, well, this smells horrible. So I have my theories on who did what they did. Now, I will say I've been wrong before because at first I thought a guy that she was dating had been involved in this. I no longer believe that at all. We held a memorial or a celebration of life for her and Tim on May 8th of this year at Paintsville Lake, not far from where she was found. I don't think she was killed there. I think she was dumped there. Sharon invited this individual to show up, the person referred to on the podcast as John. We change names sometimes because I'm not in the business of making accusations. If they're ever convicted in court, then I'll scream it from the mountaintop. But he shows up. Now, it's hard for me to imagine somebody that's guilty of something like that showing up. Now, the other side is you also have people that are murderers, stone cold killers that'll show up to funerals. But when this guy sat down in front of me, and I actually got to look him in the eye and talk to him, he was bleeding tears because he missed her so much. He said, I've had several failed relationships over the years. He said, I've never been with anybody like her. And the reason I've had these failed relationships is because I keep trying to compare them to her. And I thought to myself, wow. Okay. So really, do I think he had anything to do with it? Not so much. There are people out there that still do. And that's okay. Everybody's got a right to their opinion.
Yes, they do. You know, and maybe too, he blames himself a little bit.
Maybe. Guilt is a nasty thing, and it's very real. You know, I've tried to live, I've done stupid things in my life, but I've never committed a homicide. I've never committed a kidnapping. I've never raped anyone because those are things I know I couldn't live with. I don't think anybody's got the right to play God. Nobody can take the life of another person unless it's in defense of their children or their family or themselves. And even then, there's other methods. You don't have to put one in their head. Put one in their leg. They'll drop like a rock. And then, hopefully if they're still coming at you, do what you got to do to protect your children, because I would. But for me to say, well, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to kill John Doe because he slept with my girlfriend, or even my wife, whatever that was, I don't think that's right. Move on. Leave. Divorce. Whatever it takes. Be happy. Life's too short to spend the rest of your life in prison. And especially, if somebody's significant other sleeps with somebody else, were they really yours to start with? Then?
No, they wouldn't.
I've been there. It's happened to, I'd say it's happened to all of us.
Oh, yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay.
Let's see. I'm going to skip the next question because you've already answered that. But you're coming in today. This is the month of October.
Mm-hmm.
And we here at Chew Bubblegum are celebrating in October all month long with guest ghost stories. And you're our first guest, and you have a ghost story to share with us today.
This happened. I had worked at Q95 FM and left to EKB. And the reason I left, because of the pending birth of my beautiful daughter. I found out, I was dating this girl, and she calls me when I'm at the radio station, and she says, well, we need to talk when you get home this evening. And I said, are you pregnant? I knew. I don't know how I knew. I just knew. And she said, my God, how'd you know? I said, just a feeling. And she said, well, what are we going to do? And I said, well, I guess we're going to pick out baby names and buy you some bigger clothes. And when I got home, that's exactly what we started looking at. So I left Q95 to take a job at a station closer to where she lived. And needless to say, that didn't work out. I'm still a dad, and I'm proud daddy. God, I love my baby girl. She's my world. And I love being called daddy or dad, or even as she refers to me sometimes, the ATM. So that's what dads do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Money comes and goes. Love lasts forever. So anyways, when it didn't work out, I came back to Q95, and they'd kind of been recruiting me to come back. And I walked in and I said, yeah, if that's still open. And Gorham said, absolutely, yeah. So started working back there. And I had stayed with my parents at the time for, I don't know, a couple, 3 weeks. And Dad said, well, he said, you can stay here as long as you want. I said, I know, but I needed my own place. So I went looking, and I found a place. And, man, talk about convenience. It was literally 200 yards from the radio station, directly across the road, a little one-bedroom house, perfect for one person. 2 at most.
Well, but on the downside, too, you can't use, I'm sorry, the roads are too bad. I can't come into work today.
Well, he kind of made me an operational manager.
Gotcha.
So I didn't have that option anyway. I said, what's that mean? He said, that means you get to put up with all the bullshit that I'm going to throw at you. He said, you'll get paid for it, but you're going to put up with it.
Right.
And I said, okay. So, and literally I walked to work most mornings. And when I didn't, I heard about it. He made a big game out of it. He would laugh at me. Say, oh, did you have to drive to work today? Yeah. But anyways, it was a small little house, and it was on a place called Burke Avenue in Prestonsburg. Really quiet neighborhood. The kind of place where a whole lot of nothing always happens. Lived right behind a fellow named Omerod. He was the chief of the Department of Public Safety, i.e. the police department. He was the chief. I could throw a rock and hit his house. Not that I ever did, but I could. Super nice guy. And, I'm a little down on myself at this point because I'm constantly thinking about my daughter. Is she hungry? Does she need anything? Even though in my heart I knew her mother wasn't letting her go without anything that she needed. I was paying child support. I did through the entire 18 years gladly. And when she needed something extra, I got that something extra for her. That's what we do. That's what, in my opinion, men do. That's what dads do. But anyways, one night I came home from work or one afternoon because I was doing the morning shift, the morning show. And I came home and I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe if I started working out again, pick up some of that confidence. Because, you just feel better about yourself when you release those endorphins. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, if I can get up in 30 minutes after a little cat nap, I'll get up. Now, this is where it all started. I stretch out in the bed. It's a full-size bed. Laying on my right side. And I thought, well, okay, this feels good. I'm going to take a nap. And I took that nap. And I said, if I can get up in 30 minutes, I'll go take a light jog and start the process of getting my body ready to go push it a little harder.
Right.
So I'm laying there, and, man, I'm sawing logs. I'm dreaming about the Swedish bikini swim team or whatever. And all of a sudden, something smacks me in the back. Now, I remember laying down to take that nap. It was at 4:30 in the evening because I got off at 4. And like I said, it's a short walk. I looked at the clock, and it was 5 o'clock dead on the dot. And I thought to myself, okay, that was odd. Maybe it's subconscious, whatever. Our logical minds tend to write things off so we can explain them. Like looking at clouds in the sky, you make images out of them. That looks like a face. That looks like a bird. You get the idea?
Yes.
So, anyways, I do it. I keep my promise to myself. I get up and I go down to Prestonsburg High School, the football field. They have a really, really beautiful track, really well kept. and I use it. Come back home, no problems for a few days. Well, I get up one morning to take a shower, and this little thing had a stand-up shower in it. It's a small little house that everybody called an apartment because it's about as small as such. And I'm in the shower getting ready to go to work. It's about 5:30 in the morning, and I hear, Chris, wait a minute, I live alone. I'm not the guy that walks in and says, honey, I'm home, because if I do, I'm talking to myself. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm half asleep. I turn a little bit of the warm water down, get a little more cool water, get woke up. And I'm getting out of the shower, put on my deodorant, brush my teeth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And from the bedroom, I hear, Chris. And it's like a whisper. It's not as loud as what you're hearing right now. And I walk in there, and I'm like, did somebody come in on me? And, of course, I'm starting to get a little antsy. I'm getting a little nervous. Somebody came in on me? I knew it wasn't my landlord. They were elderly people, very good people. Alberta and Alex were their names. And I walked in there, and I didn't see nothing. And I said, well, okay. So let's say a year goes by. Alex passes away. Rest his soul. Great guy. World War II veteran. Fantastic guy. Nothing happens. Then one night, the lights in the house just kind of flicker. And I'm thinking, And they keep doing that for about 35 minutes or so. Now, knowing where Gorm lived, I gave him a buzz. Hey, your light's flickering? Because he's pretty much on the same grid, pretty close to it. And he said, no, everything's fine here. Why? I said, that's probably just a fuse box or a breaker or something. Never mind. Well, at that point in time, we're a year past the first experience. I'm dating a girl named Tabitha, and she is all but living there now. So we go to bed and wake up the next morning, and it's a Saturday, and I hear her in the night go, and she arches her back and then just goes, I don't think that woke her up. And I thought, well, she's probably having a bad dream. So I just rubbed her head, rubbed her hair. You'll be okay. Woke up the next morning, and she comes out of the bathroom. She said, will you look at my back? She said, it feels like it's burning. So I raised up her shirt in the back, and there's 3 scratches in a place that she could not have possibly put them. They start about the upper quarter of the back, and they go down. She said, did you scratch me last night? And I said, no, I did not. Well, that scared her. She said, have you been, and to answer any questions before they're asked, I don't mess with spirit boards, Ouija boards.
Right.
I had never done an EVP session in the house. I don't know what I'm doing, and when I don't know what I'm doing, I don't do it. Okay? I am not a paranormal investigator, nor have I ever been, but I certainly have an interest in it after this. So we started checking out and checking around things. And I had met some people that are to this day good friends. I won't use their last names, but it's James and Kelly. James studies occult, and Kelly, I suppose, she's along the lines of a medium, a psychic. And when she first told me that, I thought, yeah, and I'm Brad Pitt. Because I didn't buy that.
Right.
I mean, like I said, I like to be open. Do I think those gifts are real with some people? Yes. But I think there's far more charlatans than there are people with actual gifts. My first clue that she was not a charlatan was she lived in Ashland, and she said, let me come down to you. I said, okay, how much is that going to cost me? Not a thing. She said, if you want to, get us something to eat. Get a pizza. But other than that, there's no charge for this. She and I had been talking for a spell, and her husband and I had, and great people, just great people. So they show up. And as soon as she walked in, she said, oh my. And I said, oh my what? I didn't feel anything in there. She said, let me just kind of hang out for a little bit if you don't care. And I said, yeah. So we went into the living room, which was like a total of 15 steps from the kitchen. It was a small place. She sits down on the sofa. James sits down beside her, and then I'm on the other end. And we're all just sitting there chatting, and James and I are just carrying on a conversation like 2 good old boys. And I notice Kelly's not participating in said conversation. She's looking away and everywhere else, like she's kind of darting back and forth, like she can't keep up with what's being said to her. And she finally puts her hand on her husband's knee, stands up. She said, I got to get outside for a minute. And she said it like that. She said, I got to go outside for a minute. And I was like, well, what the hell's up with that? So I had this patio on the back of the house, which extended the entire length of the house. It's where I set my bike.
Right.
So she walks outside, and of course I had a little patio set up there, and she sits down. James and I are still in there talking. We're knocking back a shot of Glenn Levitt or something. And he said, I'm going to go outside and check on my wife. You want to come? And I said, yeah, sure. So we walked outside, and she's just like out there with her hands over her eyes, not rocking back and forth, but just kind of nodding her head. And I said, Kelly, are you okay? And she said, we need to talk. Oh, boy, I've heard that before. Normally when my mother said that or referred to me by my middle name, I knew I was in trouble. She looked at me, she said, I don't know who you are at heart yet or what you're supposed to do, but whatever it is, wow. I said, what makes you say that? She said, most people have a spirit guide or a guardian angel. Call them what you want. Some people have two. She said, you've got three. Whatever it is going to come after you. And she said, by the way, I'm picking up on a older lady named Mary. She loves the color pink. She loves working in a garden. She lives in a small house, not much bigger than this, but it is bigger. It's a 3-bedroom, just not a lot bigger than this. And I'm picking up on a person named Emmanuel. My jaw hit the damn floor. My great-grandfather's name was Emmanuel. And as for the lady she described, and even called her by name Mary, that was my great-grandmother. She did not know this. She told me about a beagle pup that my father owned when he was a kid. So I called Dad. I said, did you ever own a beagle dog when you were a kid? And he got real quiet, and he said, how'd you know that? So was it a hunting dog? He said, nah, he's just a pup. He's a pet. That's all he was. He said, went hunting on occasion. He said, that dog wouldn't go anywhere. Hell, he didn't like to leave the porch. And I said, okay. So we're getting validation. And then she starts telling me that she's picking up on an elderly gentleman who is in the house that says, this is my house. And I said, what's his name? And she said, I keep getting Alan. Well, his name was Alex. Close enough. And I said, yeah, there was an individual that has a name very similar to that used to own this house. His wife is still living. I pay her rent every month. And I cut her lawn for her every month. She was an elderly lady. She couldn't do it. Her sons lived in Michigan. I don't care to do it. What the hell am I doing on the weekends? Not much. Well, she or he says that this is his house. And he's kind of confused as to why you're here. So, well, he knew me in life. She said, well, maybe he doesn't realize he's gone, or maybe he's gone back. She said, it's hard to say. She said, but I do know he's confused. At the pinnacle of this thing, I actually never saw a manifestation of anything. But I can tell you, it had a very small closet in the bedroom, and it had a little tiny closet in the living room. I mean, I don't even know that you'd call it a coat closet, more than an action figure closet. But I remember one night, I actually woke up and I heard something out of the closet. So I called them back. And at this point in time, we had started this internet radio thing called Alley FM after my daughter. And what it was exactly what we would call a podcast today. This was back in 2004, 2005. And we were producing several shows because we were using Skype technologies, and from all over the place, people would come in. I had an automation system, which was Simeon 32. We were running automation, playing public service announcements, so these guys could take a break, let their voice rest for a few seconds, come back on, and we hit it running. And it was going, we were getting listeners from all over the place. The reason that quit was because I was the one doing everything, all the producing and all that, and I got tired. Plus working a 45-hour-a-week job, So, but I got to know a lot of people, including Lorraine Warren. On the Mountain Mysteries podcast right now, I think it's episodes 9 and 10. It was a two-parter. That interview airs on the Mountain Mysteries podcast, even though it was created in 2009, 3 years after Ed had passed away. Lorraine actually tells us about the film deal that she had just signed to consult on called The Conjuring. You may have heard of it.
Yes.
We were one of the first ones to have that. She said, I've not released that to anybody. As a matter of fact, I've not even told some of my family about it. And a guy who was a co-host with me who was, and maybe still is, a paranormal investigator, Bill Scott was his name. He looks over at me and he's like, holy hell. He said, you just got Lorraine Warren to give you that? I've always had a knack for talking and having people talk with me. What's an interview, Goose? It's a conversation between two friends.
Yes, it is.
That's all an interview is. And I'll never forget that because towards the end of the episode, I asked her a very poignant question. Because you see, everybody knew about Amityville. They knew about the parents. Well, they sure do now with The Conjuring. They knew about the Enfield poltergeist. That was The Conjuring too. They knew about Arnie Johnson. Well, that was The Devil Made Me Do It guy. But I took this from a different angle. I wanted to know her. Knew about the cases. I wanted to know Lorraine Warren as an individual, as a wife, as a mother. What were her concerns? And I asked her one question. I said, this all started when you were about 9 or 10, and it really started to come into play when you were around 16. She said, yes. She could see lights around people. She could see aura. And I said, if you could go back in time, and if you could change anything about your life, would you? She got real quiet. And it was about 5 seconds that felt like an eternity. I thought, oh, hell, I've asked her the wrong thing. Because before I started the interview with her, her son-in-law told me, do not ask her about Amityville. I said, well, that's the case that made her famous. How come? Just don't. She will hang up on you, and she will never accept another interview from you. I respected that. And then after the fact, I found out why. She told me why. She brought it up herself after the interview. But anyways, during the interview, she said, she said, not one thing would I change. She said, I've had a beautiful life. She said, definitely been interesting. I had a wonderful husband. I have a wonderful child, wonderful grandchildren. She said, there's not one thing I've changed. I'm getting ready to go to the next question. She said, wait a minute, Chris. She said, in all these years, nobody has ever asked me that question. You're the first. She said, you're going to do big things with this. She said, you threw me for a loop. That's why I got so quiet. I thought she was going to ask about Enfield or Annabelle, which we did talk about Annabelle. And she said, I thought you were going to ask me about this. And she said, instead you asked me something about me. I said, Mrs. Warren, with all due respect, I don't care about the cases. We know about the cases. I care about Lorraine Warren. I care about who Ed Warren was. What kind of a husband was he? What kind of a father was he? Why did he get into demonology? Why was it that he was considered by the Catholic Church one of the premier demonologists in the world? And she told me why. He had haunting experiences in a demonically infested house when he was growing up. I didn't know that. Most of our listeners didn't know that. Well, they did now because it came from the horse's mouth. She told us. That's what I wanted. After we got done, she said, there's a reason that Tony, which is her son-in-law, asked you not to ask me about Amityville. I wasn't even going to bring this up, but she said, the way you've done this interview, I'll tell you. And I said, you don't have to. I said, I respect your rights. I respect your request. And I'm just honored that you actually said yes to this thing because you don't know who I am. She said, I didn't, but now I do. She said, whatever it was at Amityville, she said, that's as close to hell as I ever wanted to get. I saw things that changed me. She said, it put me in a catatonic state for 3 days. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I laid there with my eyes wide open in the bed, scared Ed to death. I said, what did you see? She said, I saw hell, the real living hell. And let me tell you, it's no place any soul wants to be, no matter what they say in this life. Oh, I believe that. But that episode actually is available right now for people to listen to. It's episodes, I think, 9 and 10, and it's called In the Dark. because that's where they went to help people. And I honestly felt that she was the real deal, because the only time that she ever charged anyone for anything was Ed had told a person in New Jersey, yes, we will come. We're not going to charge anything, but if you could reimburse us for the tolls on the turnpike, that would be great. That was it.
Right. And that's totally understandable.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that too. I am very much a person, and I've done several families that have come to me and said, will you do an episode on this one, or on my child, or on my friend, or whatever? Yeah. Tell me about them. Well, first, what's it going to cost me? How about nothing? I don't charge for interviews, and I don't expect to get paid for a single thing. We have Patreon supporters. We are looking at being picked up by a couple of sponsors because apparently it's interesting. It's doing good. I don't care, Goose, if I get paid a damn cent for doing it. That ain't what I'm about. Last night, I'm sure, you're friends of the Seth's Daily Podcast.
Yes, I am.
Wonderful guy. Love him to death. And, of course, I've been honored enough to be on Spooky Family. Elliot, Gert, and Beagle. Great people.
Yes, they are.
And I love acknowledging them. But last night, I had the honor and the privilege of being on Seth's Daily Podcast, and he referred to me as the voice of the dead, or the voice of people that can't speak for themselves.
Yes.
That is an honor to me. It's not spooky. It's not creepy. These people have become my family. The only person that we've done an episode on that I knew personally was episode number 1, Tragedy at Paintsville Lake, The Mountain Mystery of April Renee Pennington. To this day, her mother has adopted myself and my daughter as her grandchild. And it's nice. I lost my mom and dad 33 days apart in 2019. Felt lost. And Sharon said, as long as I breathe, you'll not be lost. And, of course, I had a lot of good people that surrounded me and filled in that mantle. But she was the only one I actually knew. I didn't know Mamie Thurman. She was killed in 1939. I didn't know Meryl Baldridge from Floyd County, a Prestonsburg High School cheerleader, died when she was 17 and 46. I didn't know her. I didn't know Dwayne Lovelace, who lost his life on June 8, 2020, or Heather Teague, who lost her life. Well, we're assuming that body's never been found. And so many other people. I didn't know Candy Green Gonzalez, Crystal Branham Hall, who is from right in Pikeville. Didn't know them.
Yes.
But they're family, because I got to know them. And one of the points that we made on one of the most recent episodes, which was episode 29, Bring Them Home, was about Candy, about Crystal, and about a little boy from Knott County, Kelly Holland Jr.
Yes.
6-year-old little boy.
And that was a great episode, by the way.
Thank you.
And, when that happened to Kelly, because he was a year older than me, parents in Knott County were, you didn't go 2 feet away from your parents.
No.
That changed stuff around here.
Yes. And if any good came out of that, maybe that was some of it. But I cannot imagine. And I can tell you, I was raised, I was born in 1971. So I grew up what people today call old school. To me, that's not old school. My dad was born in 1945. That's a little older school. But if it was snowing outside and freezing, I would go out with Mom's permission. And within 30 minutes, actually most times 15 or 20, she's saying, get back in the house.
Yeah.
It's too cold.
Yeah.
But you actually called me here for the ghost story. So I'm sorry about that.
No.
I have a tendency to wonder.
You're totally fine, And I love the ghost story that you told.
Well, it never did, even when I moved out. The thing about this is I went from a feeling of being scared to death at one point because all these people came in. We had Kelly. I had a guy named Fred Angel, a super nice guy. Bill Scott was there, Kelly and James. And Bill brought in this little thing. And I'd never seen anything like it before. It looked like a little tiny radar dish. And I said, Bill, what is that? And he said, it's called a parabolic microphone. I said, well, it looks like a radar dish. He said, well, kind of, sort of. He said it really intensifies signal and, on one certain area where it's pointed. So let the EVP session begin. Do I take part in this? No, I'm an observer because I don't want to screw the pooch. I don't know anything about this. But these other people, well, they do. So Bill, who is an experienced paranormal investigator, has a book published about it called There's the Book. Had actually came through with this thing, and he was talking. Now, I didn't hear anything. I'm sitting there thinking, well, this is a bust. Didn't hear anything until about a week later when they brought back down what they had captured. Oh, my God. You couldn't understand one from the other. There were at least 4 or 5. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I am going to have to vacate this place. They're living here too, and they're not paying rent. What the hell? I heard what sounded like when my great grandmother passed away, that was in 83. Or no, was that 83? I think it was 83. So that would have made me 12. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they buried her in a pink dress because that was one of her favorite colors. She loved pink. And she was so beautiful in that. We called her Granny. And anyways, I vaguely recalled her voice, and man, it came through. All she said was, love you. Keep going. Kelly looks at me, and after I hear several other voices that I don't recognize, none of them threatening. There was no get out kind of thing. There was nothing like that, thank God. But Kelly said, I think what you've got in this house mostly are people that care about you. She said, I would be about as concerned as having your daughter spend the night with you. She said, these people apparently care about you. She said, I'm not getting any feelings of malice or negativity. So I was there another 3 or 4 years with them. And I can tell you right now, when people would come over that had never been there before, friends or maybe dates that I were going out with or whatever, they would all say something similar to, this feels so warm and cozy in here. Now, there was one, though. That girl walked in and turned around and walked out. She said, I've never felt so unwelcome in a place in my life. I said, well, what did I do? She said, you didn't do nothing. She said, I just don't feel like I need to be in there. Needless to say, that relationship, well, it never made it to that status of relationship.
Right.
But I thought to myself, well, they know more than I do. They didn't want her around for a reason, and she didn't come back around. So I do believe, and before that, I'd never really thought about it. Are they real? Yeah, maybe spirits, paranormal entities are real. Well, maybe, I don't know. And now, oh yes, they are very much real. I say that with emphasis. Yes, they are. And then, of course, I got interested and started studying this stuff, and I learned that energy cannot be destroyed. It simply transforms. So that was some comfort when I lost my mom and dad.
Right.
Now we come to, this is a comforting measure. There is a lady named Stacy Underwood Gullett. She is the team leader and the founder of 606 Paranormal. She is a beautiful gal. I've known her since I was, kindergarten, first grade. We went to school together for a long time. And we recently reconnected shortly after my parents' death, which was just last year. My parents died in 19, but she and I reconnected in 2020. And she said, I'm so sorry about your mom and dad. She said, I love them both. Because, mom and dad would come to Christmas functions at elementary school and see school plays and that kind of thing. And I said, well, I really appreciate that. She said, and then she started telling me stuff that there's no way she could have known. So she breaks out this device, and it's called a portal. It allows her to attempt to speak with those that are passed on. And she said, we're going to try this if you want. She said, I want you to think about your parents. Well, that's easy to do. I do it all the time. I hear within 10 minutes my mother's voice and my father's voice. Vague, a bit distorted, but love you, proud of you, go forward. Because I'd been struggling with that. How do you go forward when everything you've known and loved your life is practically gone? So that gave me a new motivation. And I'm not going to lie to you, Goose. I cried like I was a 3-year-old and somebody just took away my Tonka truck and my Hershey's bar. I bawled like a baby when I heard that. It's called being a human. It's being real. And to this day, though, I still get comfort out of that, knowing that they're there. And it's really, when I wonder is what we're doing with the Mountain Mysteries, right, is what I'm doing as a person, right? When you get a grandmother or a mom walk up to you and they bury their head on your chest and they're thanking you, thank you for keeping their memory alive, thank you for making people interested again, I think that speaks for itself.
Yes, it does.
And that's what, when Seth said that last night, he said, you're the voice for those who don't have a voice.
Yeah, he actually, I think, opened up the show that way when he was introducing you.
Yes, he did.
And because I watched most of it earlier this morning.
There's a lot there to watch. I went back and looked at it. I said, I had no idea I yapped for $1.20. It was like an hour and 20 minutes that he and I went.
Yeah.
But that's the sign of a really good interviewer.
Yes, it is.
And I'm doing the same thing with you. So I've heard you interview several people, and I'm going to be honest with you, I just enjoy the hell out of listening to you.
Well, thank you very much. That honestly means a lot to me. Because I started out in broadcasting as well.
We are both children of the tower, so it's of the radio tower.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
That sounds like a Stephen King book waiting to happen.
And working in broadcasting is something I always loved. But when I got 21, I got a job at the cookie factory. I've been there ever since. Well, so, but I am looking at stuff at my point in life because I'm a little bit younger than you. I'm 3 years younger than you. Mm-hmm. So, after my time at the cookie factory is over, I'm looking for something to do. Just to pursue, just to, keep me active.
That's what this is. It's the pursuit. Some people get into this thinking, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be the next Joe Rogan or whatever his name is. Let me tell you something. If you're expecting to become a millionaire off this, good luck.
Yes. And I'm sure you as well. I have spent more money than I've made on my podcast at this time.
The great thing about me, or the great thing about my particular situation, is because I was in radio so long and I've done so many audiobooks, I already had the equipment.
Right.
I already had the equipment. I took a pantry whose dimensions are 7 feet tall, about 5 or 6 feet wide and 5 or 6 feet long, and I turned it into AKA the Pantry Studio Productions.
Yes, I was going to say that's where you got the name from it.
One of my friends actually recommended it. Her name is Angie, and I love her to death. She is so awesome. Her name's Angie Howard. Mm-hmm. I won't care to drop her name a bit, but she said, "You know what you ought to call that?" And I said, "What?" She said, "The Pantry Studio." And she had this big smile on her face, and I'm like, "You are nuts." And here it is, the Pantry Studio. Apparently she's not so nuts. Apparently she's, but that's why we call it that.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on. I look forward to having you back on again. Absolutely. And I don't know when this will be, but I want to invite you to our next roundtable show. Sure. Normally a roundtable show, we have 4 or 5 people in studio, maybe some over Zoom or Skype. Mm-hmm. And what we do, we have listeners email us topics they want us to talk about.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I would love to have you on the next roundtable show.
I would be honored to be here.
Well, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, again, that was Chris Sloan from the Mountain Mysteries. If you haven't heard the show, I encourage you to check it out and also visit the website at themountainmysteriespodcast.com. Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you, and God bless you.
It's now time for a Kentucky spooky story with Mercedes.
Carl Pritt and the Chain Strangler. In the June of 1938, in a little town in eastern Kentucky, Carl came home and caught his wife cheating. Her lover escaped out of the window, but in his wrath, Carl strangled his wife with a small length of chain. Realizing what he'd done, he then committed suicide and was buried in a cemetery away from his wife. Several weeks later, cemetery workers noticed his gravestones had become discolored and the pattern of a chain, and become frightened. James Collins, a local boy, threw stones at Carl's grave, and on his way home, the chain came off his back, strangling him as he wrecked. James's mother, in her grief, destroyed Carl's grave with a small axe. The next day, while hanging out the family's laundry, she slipped and strangled on her clothesline. There were several other strange strangling incidents, totaling 5, but Carl's grave remained untouched till 1958. A strip mine destroyed the grave when initiating a new project.
You've been listening to a Kentucky spooky story with Mercedes.
Welcome back
Here to chew bubblegum.
with the Flockers.
And Seth Ambergy.
Of Seth's
And
Daily
Goose.
Podcast.
And Goose, thank you, Rebecca. I've enjoyed this. This has been a good show. I want to thank Chris Sloan for coming in to the headquarters a few weeks ago. And we be sure to check out the Mountain Mysteries Podcast.com. And Chris, I think he drops a new episode every Thursday, and he's even doing some live stuff. But thank you very much, Chris, for coming in. Again, that's the Mountain Mysteries Podcast.com. Rebecca, we started doing Honest Rebecca Thoughts and dropping those on Friday morning. This Friday morning, we didn't have one. We have some stuff going on behind the scenes, and it wasn't because we didn't record anything. We actually do have one recorded that we may play. That we may play that one later. Correct?
Yeah.
And you can look for a new one next Friday, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that is Here to Chew Bubblegum, Get Real meets Honest Rebecca Thoughts, right? Is that the title that we finally decided on? Or no, you've changed it?
No, it's
changed every episode.
It's not changed every episode. It's called Honest Rebecca Thoughts, but I will start labeling it when we upload it as Here to Chew Bubblegum presents Honest Rebecca Thoughts with Rebecca Short meets Get Real with Goose or something like that.
Oh my God, it's so long.
That's what she said.
And Dirty Dan, we had some problems with our midweek moment. We had to take those down. We're going to get those back up, but you do have another one coming up this week, correct?
Yes, sir.
What did you think about the one before we took it down that had the mailbox? Luke Fugit doing the telling us why they had a gigantic Blue Horse mailbox in my hometown of Hyman, Kentucky.
Well, I thought that was all interesting, but then you shed some. You have some other knowledge that you're going to share with it.
Oh yeah. Well, there's actually an anvil that's also dedicated to that guy, and it's not too far from where Seth's at.
And I don't know if you know this, I'm actually half Pratt.
Oh, I did know that. I did know that. So you were related to the guy, the Irving, I guess, that delivered mail on horseback.
I had no idea, to be honest.
Well, you can always say, yeah, I was related to him.
I will say this. He was from the same part of Knott County as what my family is.
Yeah, and he delivered mail on horseback until 1978 when he fell off the horse and had to retire.
I'm curious what Rebecca's got going on right now. She just freaked out a little bit.
Well, maybe it was a good freak out, but
it was.
See, it was a good freak out.
So Emmy just came up with the best title. Honestly, Get Real with Rebecca and Goose.
Oh, I like that. Now, I might actually make new opening credits for that one. I like that one.
I wrote it down.
Good. You have to text that to me.
I'll go.
But
honestly, we're just chewing bubblegum. Oh, they're getting good. Continue. I'll keep you posted.
Okay. I am going to soon. I was going to try to do it today. Get out and shoot some video in our area. for the midweek moment, we've had people asking questions before about, the area that I'm from and this and that. And I was going to try to shoot some video. It's raining today really bad, so I'm not going to do that this week, but that will be coming up in some future midweek moments because Seth, I actually showed Rebecca, I guess a couple of weeks ago, the Mother Goose house. She had never saw it, never heard of it. That's a national like landmark.
National treasure, man.
Yeah.
Glad they got it back up.
I am too, because its neck actually broke off. So have you saw pictures of that, Dirty Dan? The Mother Goose house in Hazard, Kentucky. Dirty Dan. He's either lagged or he's just sitting there. Okay, we evidently had some problems there. It says I am the host now. Seth, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, you do have technical difficulties sometimes. Seth, tell us about the mysterious Appalachian Mountain segment.
Oh yeah, man, the mysterious Appalachian Mountains with Seth and Earl, man. It's definitely first off, I want to say thank you for the opportunity, man.
Oh, it's no problem, brother. Happy to have you on there.
Yeah, man, and definitely me and Earl definitely appreciate you guys having us on. And it's not just me, man. We actually got a Bigfoot researcher, man, from here in Eastern Kentucky that gives his input on the stories and stuff, man. And he definitely is way more knowledgeable about Bigfoot than me. So, I mean, I just read the stories. I give my unprofessional opinion, and he gives his expert opinion on the stories.
Yeah, and you can hear the mysterious Appalachian Mountains starting this month on the Here to Chew Bubblegum radio shows. In November, it will be on the radio shows and the podcast show as well. Dirty Dan and Rebecca, welcome back. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know either. It's like all of the internet just cut out. Like my camera stopped working, my Twitch stopped working. I just restarted the one thing that we have. We've been having some issues with that. So
Okay.
I do apologize. So I'm sorry if there's a glitch in that recording.
No, that's no problem. It actually kept recording. It just said that I was the host, and we just kept on rolling. Dirty Dan, Are you there? Can you hear us okay? I think your mic's muted, sir. You have to unmute it.
Yes. Thank you.
Be professional, Dirty Dan. Come on, man. What's wrong with you?
Oh my goodness.
But we were just talking about the mysterious Appalachian Mountains segment that Seth is graciously doing for us on the radio shows, and I am fascinated with Bigfoot. I've not done a lot on the show with Bigfoot. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just waving hi as Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. Very good. Touche, my friend. Touche. If you've got more than one Bigfoot, are they big feet or are they still two Bigfoot?
Well, Bigfoot just has two big feet.
Okay. Seth, what's your vote? Would they be one Bigfoot or two big feet?
I don't know, man. You'd have to ask the expert Earl.
But I want to thank Seth for coming on the show today. Thanks for Rebecca, Dirty Dan being here as usual. You can always call, text, or leave a voicemail by calling 606-373-3396. Or how can they email us, Dirty Dan?
Well, they can email us at goose@heretotchewbubblegum.com, Dirty Dan at heretotchewbubblegum.com, and Rebecca at heretotchewbubblegum.com. You can also email Ned or Elliot at heretotchewbubblegum@yahoo.com.
Yes, you can. And before you get started, I think Rebecca wants to give a shout out to somebody. Correct?
I do. It kind of ties into what Dirty Dan is promoting this week as well. But I want to say I do have, for those of you that don't know, my new TikTok. It's at Honest Rebecca Thoughts. I have that one, and then I have at Short Shit Show 138 is the new one, and so far so good. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. And then all of my links are in my link tree for that. But I did have someone reach out to me to do a merch collaboration. He does do his own merch and everything like that. That's his thing. And it is Fed Up Gear. And his stuff is also linked in my link tree, but it's fedupgear.com. And we did oh shit, what was the thing? I just ordered it.
You ordered a hoodie.
Like this, we are flocking fed up together is the slogan on it with the flamingo. And 10% of all of his profits go immediately to the Semper Fi Foundation.
That is cool. Dirty Dan, my friend, take it away.
Yes, sir. So this week, again, we would like to recognize the group for their amazing work called the Till Valhalla Project. Established in 2017, rocking the slogan "Where Heroes Live On Forever" under their wonderful tribute of a logo. The TVP team is all about bringing and spreading awareness to help our vets and soldiers' needs. The ones who devote and sacrifice their time to protect our lives and freedoms, and sometimes, and all too much, unfortunately, give the ultimate sacrifice of their own lives for us. Representative from there, Julia, was quoted saying, "Our mission is to do whatever it takes, anything to get our name out and the purpose to the masses. The sale of these products is obviously going to make a difference, but the conversations and awareness they bring to lessen the 22 a day plus one active duty suicide is more significant than any monetary donation. We need to support each other, most notably our brothers and sisters and the families that were left behind." Starting in 2019, the Till Valhalla Project donates an additional 20% of net proceeds towards reducing veteran suicide. And as of several weeks ago, they actually broke the $1 million raised in under 2 full years.
That's awesome.
Veteran suicide is a plague, and they are making their stand to stop it as much as they can. I'm actually rocking their 22 a day shirt. I will stand up here.
That's awesome. That is a very, very cool organization. Very cool shirt.
They also make memorial plaques for every fallen soldier and vet. And it is a very beautiful, beautiful piece. And every one of them is donated. There is no money that anyone has ever charged for them. They do that out of the kindness of their own hearts. That's not including the money that they've raised to send to the 22 a day foundation. And they have rewarded when they broke the sale that broke the $1 millionth was actually a vet, and they have treated him and his entire family, all that he could gather, to a very special time. So they really do try and help and reach out to any and all who have served or are serving to just let them know, hey, you're not alone. And one of their shirts actually has a very, very strong message on it. It says, "I can't promise to fix your problems, but I can promise you won't face them alone." And it's not just veteran suicide or active duty. It's all suicide. It says "end all suicide" on it. Being someone who struggled with that myself, people, there are always family and friends and other people, even strangers out there willing to listen. If you ever need to talk to someone, just reach out. Just reach out.
And don't forget about Adventures with Purpose, correct?
Yes, Jared and Dan, go ahead and look them up. YouTube, AWP Adventures with Purpose, or adventureswithpurpose.com.
I want to say special thanks to Carlin for all the voiceover work, and don't forget about the new Midlife Crisis album, Have a Little Faith, available now on CD, USB stick, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, and much more. Some titles from the album, title tracks. Really good album as well. Runaway, Falling, I Wish, It's Only Love, Prepare Your Heart, and Save Me. Again, you can pick up the new Midlife Crisis album, available now on CD, USB stick, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, and much more. Be sure to check out and support our friends with their own shows. CK and Uncle Bill at deadpit.com, Talk Junkie with Justin Perkins, Jordan and Brad of Down on the Holler, Seth Ambergy with Seth's Daily Podcast. And Seth, thank you very much for being on the show today. Don't forget about Elliot Gertie and Beagle over at the spookyfamilypodcast.com and the Mountain Mysteries podcast with Chris Sloan. And also check out, if you miss Cronkite, he's now known as Paranormal Trucker. You could check him, Snowman, and Large Marge out over at Paranormal Trucker. If you want to awaken more, check out Rebecca Short on TikTok, and Honest Rebecca Thoughts on Twitch. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next week, and until then, so long for now.
Maybe I'm not leaving. Maybe I'm just going home.
Thanks for listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Tune in next time as we dive deeper into things the government doesn't want us to know.